Well, I want to propose a little question out here, or something food for thought, and you'll never hear this from nobody else on YouTube. For instance, if a bank loans you money, let's say a nice big round number like 250,000, whatever, right? And you never pay it back, and they just lose out. Well, what happened? What happened? Basically, you got income, didn't you? Right? I mean, it was a loan. I mean, it's still on the credit side, right? You know, it was on the credit side of the balance sheet, but now it's on the credit side of the income statement. You know, it's revenue, right? So I want you to think about that situation. And you see this even in not that I get played by this garbage, but you might see people go around and say, yeah, my rent is due, my cat died, I got a problem with the car, my phone bill's due, and oh God, I just got this one little emergency coming up. And if you do that enough times, uh, you got a lot of loans, don't you? But they never get paid back, so their income, right? Their income. You could do this same game with a business. You could say, I have an LLC, I put so much money into it. Well, the valuation of my assets has actually went up, and the new market value is such and such. I put 200,000 into something, but the market value is now 400,000, or supposedly the market value is. You get a bank to loan you money, 400,000, or say 80% loan, whatever the hell it is. Say you get 320,000, and here you are. You got there's no personal guarantee or anything like that. The only liabilities on the LLC, and you're running this company that you have, and you basically what you do is you run it into the ground. You draw money out of it. You pay yourself administration salaries. You hire your family. You got company vehicles. Maybe you have another building someplace that has empty office space in it that you got an extraordinarily high rent on, and you put the company office in there, and you charge that to the company, right? So you can pay yourself all kinds of benefits, healthcare benefits, and just bleed the company dry through all kinds of stuff, right? And you know, every little expense there is, entertainment, expenses and all this kind of stuff. You get, it was at 50% on entertainment, all kinds of garbage, office meetings, right? Training, you name it. There's all kinds of junk you could do. Then if you're buying hard assets, you really never know where the hell they're going up. Office fixtures, right? You can bleed the company dry. And what happens with the bank when they lose out? They got a hollow shell. They got a hollow shell. And this stuff you can go on all the time, right? Well, what's going on with the United States in general? We got $16 trillion worth of debt. Here's the debt clock. Yeah, it's highly accurate. Yeah, I can believe this number is highly accurate. They I always like when they put all these, you got all these significant digits. This is like more accurate than a space launch. I don't think these numbers are anywhere accurate. But say it's $16 trillion debt. Well, you know what you can think of this as? It's not debt. It's income. It's income. They ain't paying it back. Think the elite are stupid? No, not at all. So I want you to actually put it in that, in light of that. In a way, you could think of our debt as income. Problem is, the little charade's not going to be able to go on forever because you're not going to be able to continue to borrow like that forever. But all this money, it's not debt. They're going to default. They said they're going to default. What? You know what? That would be the smart thing to do is default. If you do it on an individual level, you're defaulting. If you do it on a more business level through an LLC, you're defaulting, right? You're defaulting through an LLC or a company as long as you're not personal guarantor on the loans or anything like that. Well, what happens? You just, hey, well, it's income, ain't it? So, it's not debt. In other words, loan is on the balance sheet. It's on there as a credit. Well, it goes on to the income statement. Not that anybody would probably report. I don't think the U.S. would say it's income, but they would say, there was a currency war. That's another one. But my advice to people, it probably is best to keep most of your money in physical assets. But the thing is, a lot of people, I didn't realize, a lot of people don't have that much money. And me talking like go buy gold, buy silver, and all this kind of crap. Buy gold, right? It's like $1,600 spot price. A lot of people buying lots of gold at that price, right? Um, I would suggest you buy food because either way, you're going to wind up spending the money. And if you get the food now and you store it up and you wind up using it next year or whatever the hell it is, you probably cut down your food bill probably quite a bit because the drought situation is almost a guarantee without any inflation pressures that just the drought situation in the U.S. and Russia and other weather-related events throughout the world is going to increase the food prices. So that's number one. You want to be all mainly in hard assets. And I would say, Mark Farber's more than 25% invested in gold. That's a hell of a lot. But, I trust his advice more than anything. I would tell the average person, like say for instance you don't have gold or silver, I'd tell the average person to get in there about 50%. Depends on how much you have too. If you have enough money, buy palladium instead of gold, because what I say is palladium over the long run is actually going to be worth more than gold. So it's like buying an ounce of gold today for under $600. Think of it that way, Think of it that way. But you're probably going to have to hold on a while for whenever that event happens because it's probably going to come up. I went into various reasons why palladium is going to go up that much. There's a lot of... I'm going to probably make a separate video on that today. I'm probably the only one that talks about palladium and platinum that much. But palladium, although it's going to be extremely volatile, worse than silver, and it's not something that you can just go around and say, hey, I need a whole pile of food, the currency just fell to nothing, could you trade me some food for palladium? No, you're going to want to have silver coins for that stuff. But it's something, it's smart to do if you have enough silver that you think you have a good buffer, buy palladium. But my point of this whole video is that the debt situation is actually an income situation to the United States. It's just that the charade is going to stop at one point in time, which means all the entitlement benefits are going to stop. And now, if you use a little common sense, do you think the military is going to stop? Hell no. Hell no. Even in Zimbabwe, which we're not going into Zimbabwe inflation, Zimbabwe kept the military paid and the police force paid. They paid them a lot more money when everybody else was starving. They will not cut the military. They might cut them a little bit, but they're not cutting out the military. They're going to cut out Social Security, Medicaid, food stamps, and all this other kind of stuff. So I would suggest to people to get into hard assets. I would say 50% precious metals. That's my own personal thing. I don't know about 100%, but 50%. Also, this paper cash, I wouldn't even understand. I mean, I have I have a little bit of each. I got paper cash, paper cash, and I have used banks, but I use a credit union, so I don't think the credit union is going to fall apart. And mainly, I have it in a couple places, but I don't think the sky is going to fall just yet because a lot of these things are exaggerations. But as I get away and closer to the different things, I am going to go mainly paper cash with prepaid bills of all expenses up prepaid for over a year. That's where I'm going to go when I start seeing the end is coming up, the end game. The debt clock, basically, it's an income clock. It's really what it is. But what you need to be worried about is your own personal debt situation. Number one, if you have very little money, keep adding to food storage. And I'm going to go over some things about how to grow stuff even in that are extremely healthy. And what you'd use is wheatgrasses and trace. Actually, I have a 5-gallon can of seeds, wheatgrass seeds, and use these trays. You can just grow your own stuff. It's super healthy. It kills all kinds of cancer cells and every other damn thing. It's actually very healthy for you in a lot of ways. So it can actually cut down your medical expenses in some ways by keeping you healthy. But just remember this point. The debt clock is basically an income clock. It's just that the charade is not going to continue. And when that income clock stops, the first thing that's going to stop is the social services sector. All social services, that's going to end. They're not going to stop the military. And it's quite obvious why they're not going to stop the military, because somebody's going to be pissed off because they lent the United States a hell of a lot of money. And you want to keep that military force in power. So, in place. They won't stop the military. So this is my own take on the situation, but I think I'm giving you a dead-on, 100% accurate take on what the real situation is. So just keep things in reality and stay in hard assets. I would recommend, this is really like, you're not going to see any professional broker tell you this, good 50% physical metals and stuff, but also paper cash too. Paper cash, food, and I would not be totally afraid of all the stock markets and stuff like that, but I would only do no more than 25% of that stuff. I wouldn't do any more than 25% in equities. I wouldn't do that at all. And if you're actually in the oil equities, like oil exploration companies, fertilizer companies like potash and stuff like that, maybe some of the mining companies for a while, it's pretty far depressed right now, you're probably going to do very good. But I would say a little over 50% precious metals, and I'm probably more than that. But that's where I would go.